they also need to hold those officers responsible for their actions and their agitation. She's 100% correct. Those officers need to be held accountable and fired from the force. But it shouldn't stop with the officers. Everyone who works in that building behind you needs to be held accountable. Because the conditions that exist today have existed for the past 16 years. And it's time that we say enough is enough. We need new leadership and they need to know it. It's time for those folks to resign. Lastly, I'm just going to lead a chant before passing this mic. Y'all already know this one. Say his name! Willie Henley! Say his name! Willie Henley! Say his name! Willie Henley! Say his name! Willie Henley!
Hey everybody, how y'all doing? When I say black lives, you say matter. Black lives. Matter. Black lives. Matter. Black lives. Matter. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. Well, as you can see, I'm wearing a button that says peace demands action. And that's exactly what you've been doing way before today. Every day that you've been out in the street, you've been doing the right thing. And I want to upgrade a little bit of what was said. It's been more than 16 years. Now, I've been on the planet a little longer than maybe 5 of y'all. And I know something. But I also know something about the police department inside and outside. And I want to tell you, changes won't come if we leave the streets. I want to tell you what you heard John say, that more than the police commissioner, those folks that call themselves council people, they see what you see. They were sent to serve on our behalf. The question is, whose side are they really on? Now, you heard the talk about good apples and bad apples. We're the good apples inside. You got a mayor who doesn't mind standing in front of this whole city on national media and lie. You got a mayor who is too weak to stand before the people and talk to us. You got a mayor who's only thinking about trying to have his turn to be the power maker outside of the hall of government. They believe that they will wear you out. But if you indeed embrace John Lewis in his fullness, he didn't start when he was up in his 70s. He started right around where you guys and ladies are at now. In fact, all movement has been sustained by the energy that has come from a generation of people who are sick and tired of the crap. The X generation. But they don't understand. You are the children who have heard the stories of your grandparents, who have seen the lives of falsity of your parents pretending to not to see injustice, and you are the ones who say, we ain't having it. I come out here this evening, not just this evening, but I'm always showing up somewhere because I'm with you, and this is what we need to do. Some folks want to leave you out, and they want to try and separate you from the masses of the city. What you do lifted the boat for everybody in this city. There are some people who are so afraid and in their state of paralysis, they won't stand with you. They don't stand against you. They think that they are helping by not doing nothing. They are wrong. They are the ones whose silence has allowed so much to happen. They are the ones who have repeatedly went to the side door, bargained off the rights of the people by saying, give me a little program. At this moment, there are those who will say, well, I don't know why they're doing that, and will try and divide us up on race. Will try and divide us up on intellect. Will try and divide us up by criminalizing us and writing negative things. Like as if none of us in our lifetime won't be on the wrong side of an issue. We will be. But it's not what happens when you're on the wrong side of an issue. It is how you dealt with. All we want is justice. Justice does not corral a man who is sick, needing help by tracking him down, encompassing him, making threatening moves. If you pull a gun, for what? A gun in a bat? The cats that sat in the car on hurdle when the fool pulled the knife, they didn't pull a gun and shoot nobody. You cannot get weary. And I want to say, I understand the sentiment of anger that makes you want to do what they do. But you can't do that. I want to be clear about that. I understand the sentiment that makes you want to do to them what they've done to us. You cannot do that because you are building the new world, the new way. And the way you're doing it is magnificent. So what you need to understand, I'm a combat veteran of Vietnam. I was a machine gunner in the Marine Corps. And I want to tell you, those who are usually on the front line of a battle may become the casualties. That the victory can be won, but they may not survive. Some of us are going to be like that. Nobody has to volunteer. It's not a volunteer thing. But when you stand up for justice against the hate, that is hate that's coming from the mayor. That ain't nothing else. He's not confused. That is hate. He hates that you're out here demanding that he do what he was sworn to do, protect the people of this community. That is hate coming from the silence of elected who are stumbling around trying to figure out who will stand with the people. We should not have to beg. We should not have to seek them out. They actually should be leading the front line of the marches in the streets. They should be doing that. Instead, you know what they're doing now? They're stepping around. If you want a program and willing to speak against the people, you might be able to get some money. That's what they want. They want you to give up. They want you to get tired. They want you to get mad so they can say, see, look at them. But listen, y'all all right. Y'all look good. I love it. And you just need to know you are making a difference. Don't get tired of coming out here. Don't get tired of standing up. I will end by saying this. There's another level we can take this. See, I spent 20-some-odd years in Brooklyn organizing. I am a founding member of the National Black United Front. We organized our founding around police brutality in New York. We brought 3 congressional hearings to New York City when Congressman John Connors was in office. The whole hearing about police accountability and their brutality. It's a long struggle.
to wrap up, but before we do, I just wanted to bring Mr. Henley's family up. They wanted to address the crowd before we wrap up.
Amen.
Hi, everybody. Thank y'all for coming out. I am his, not youngest, but one of his grandchilds. And I just want to thank everybody because I'm trying not to get emotional right now.
It's all right.
But as we stated yesterday, he is doing okay. I'm not going to say fine.
Amen.
He's in
Hallelujah.
stable condition,
Hallelujah.
but it doesn't make it right. He could have lost his life.
Definitely wrong.
Y'all may have seen me yesterday talking a little. That's why I'm not going to talk as much today. But as I said before, I just want to thank everybody for coming out. It is very appreciated. Our parents, his daughters, are not here at this moment because they're doing hospital bills and stuff with him. So that is why they're not here, but they are very appreciated for y'all coming out. And I'm going to pass it to Tammy.
Stand up.
Hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know his story, a few days ago, he was caught with a bat. A police officer approached him, and him being a mentally ill patient, he kind of took it to the point where he thought they were attacking him. I feel as if the police officers and all Buffalo public, police officers should be trained in mental health and stuff like that. Mayor Byron Brown has said that he's been training these police officers. I want to know, where are the police officers that's being trained at? He says he already trained them. Where are they at? And if so, where? Can we have some more? Can we have some more? I don't understand. And those police officers that stopped him were also trained in mental health. So I don't understand how the situation escalated to the way it was. You didn't need to shoot him. You could have tased him. You could have pepper sprayed him. You could have tackled him. You could have done whatever you had to do, but you did not need to shoot him. Because if he would have lost his life, that would have been another one of us. And we don't need no more gone. Because our lives matter at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it matters. I just want to thank everybody for coming out today and showing love for me and my family and for Black Lives Period.
All right, man.
All right, so at this point, we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank y'all for coming. But before we wrap up, I just want to hear something from y'all one time. When I say Black Lives, you say
Matter.
that was horrible.
Matter.
When I say Black Lives, you say matter. Black Lives. Matter. Black Lives. Matter. Black Lives. Matter. Thank y'all.
Matter. Matter. In Buffalo, Underground Railroad, period toughness. Benjamin Banner, Buffalo, the end of the Underground Railroad. Go to Kansas. We drink. Get away from white people. That's got help.
I'm just a member of the Free the People Western New York Coalition.
Talk to us about what happened here today and why you bring people out.
Well, we brought people out because, as Mr. Anderson said when he spoke, the change that we're seeking doesn't generally happen unless people continue to come out, continue to demonstrate, continue to take part in civic demonstrations. And so we have actually been leading demonstrations since the beginning of the summer. When this happens, on Saturday to Mr. Henley, we held a press conference yesterday where we listed our demands that we, if enacted, will make sure that that situation never happens again. And then, people wanted to march, and we led a march downtown yesterday. And today we came here to host what's called a teach-in, where we talk about why we want to defund the police, because it's a rather controversial term. to some people, and we wanted to explain what that means, and that it does not mean, starving the police out totally. What it means is reining in their purse strings so that they don't have excess funds to do things like criminalize mental health patients or people suffering from mental health, or, for example, get 4 hours of overtime every time they come to court to sign a supporting deposition, many of which are without merit. So, in a city that is as financially challenged as Buffalo, we feel it's outrageous that $143 million should be going to the police when less than a couple $1 million goes to things like the Citizen Services Administration or the Community Services Department. And that money could be better spent in other ways that could really keep us safer. There's a narrative now that a lot of the shootings have to do with the protests, and that's, I think, absurd. No one from our organization or any protester has been arrested, to my knowledge, in any kind of shooting or in the city of Buffalo. That's not what's happening. What's happening is we are making elected officials and the police nervous. We are letting them know that they cannot continue to do business as usual, and so they're spouting out false narratives to try and make people afraid. Defunding the police doesn't mean less homicide detectives. It means that we spend less money on police to go out and respond to a mental health call because we have mental health professionals who can do it better and do it without a shooting that's going to result in a misconduct finding that may cost the city millions more dollars that we simply cannot afford. So we wanted to just make sure that people understood that message a little more thoroughly today.
Can you just quickly address the rumors that today you're going to be marching and blocking off 33? Can you just kind of talk about that or address it?
There was something posted on social media yesterday. It said that people were intending to shut down the 33. That message did not come from us. It did not come from Free the People. So I cannot speak to who did put that message out or why.
That's what we wanted. Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about, there were several calls for several resignations here. Talk to us about, who do you want to see resign right now, resign immediately, and what's next? What's next?
Well, we would like to see, when you see things like what happened on Hurdle a few weeks ago, right, where you have people clearly, holding knives and threatening people, and then the person next to them is hurling the N-word at people, and the police do nothing. We take that as a failure of leadership. Okay, when we have police who are allegedly trained in mental health responses, as was at least one of the officers who responded to the call regarding Mr. Henley, and they chase him and surround him and shoot him. I mean, that's a failure of leadership. So we believe that the buck for this misconduct stops with the police commissioner and the mayor. It was not a decision that was taken lightly. Members of Free the People have tried to sit down and talk with the mayor. We've tried to sit down and talk with the police commissioner, explain to them what needs to happen and why. And yet, every time when the mayor was asked, what happened on Hurdle, he said, well, the protesters didn't have a permit. When the mayor was asked about Mr. Henley, he defended the police. And so I think that at this point, the mayor and the police leadership are completely out of touch with the needs of the community. And again, it's not something that I say lightly. I don't think that, normally we like to see elected officials serve out their whole term, right? But when things are this bad, when people feel this unsafe, I mean, I have friends and family in North Buffalo. What do I do if I walk by and someone, calls my mom the N-word, right? And the policeman is right there, and I know now that the police are going to defend the guy calling her the N-word. I don't feel safe in my own community because the police have failed time and time again to protect us. And so we are suggesting the end game, as you asked, is to make us safe. That's the end game. The end game is to make us safe. And this is the way that we plan to go about doing it.
How are you going to push to get that going, to hold these people accountable, maybe to move up and up?
By continuing to make people aware of the situation and continuing to come out on the streets and demonstrate. We're always willing to talk with any elected official who really wants to affect meaningful and substantive change. That's not change. We've met with, I believe, almost all of the councilmen at this point over the summer. Some of them are for change. Some of them say they're for change and aren't, and some of them aren't for change. So, it's not wholesale war on every councilman. It's about being strategic and, picking the ones that are with us, and focusing in on the ones who are against us and putting the pressure of the people on them until they do what the people ask for. We are their constituents. I live in the city of Buffalo. Most of us here live in the city of Buffalo. And yet, when we ask for police to not kill us unnecessarily and to protect us, that claim falls on deaf ears. So we're going to be out here. We're going to be in there. They let us in. We're going to be everywhere that this conversation is being had to amplify the voices of people like the ones that you heard today.
Yeah, anything else you want to add?
Oh, yeah, we got caught up in that whole